I'm here with professional wrestler Brandon, the Real Deal Locke. Welcome to Hotel D'Amico.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
So why don't you take me back to the beginning a little bit of exactly how you got into this business?
Oh, well, all right. So I'm here. I'm 37. I'm going to age myself. So I'm 37, and I started, way back. I started wrestling at 15. And make a long story short, my mom found a newspaper article, for a wrestling school in Nashua, New Hampshire, and she cut it out and mailed it to me. And at that time, when it came in the mail, I was living with my father, and he goes, so what do you think? You want to do it? I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Absolutely. And brought me to the school, wrestled. 3 months later, the school shut down, right?
Nashua produces stars too. Isn't Hunter from Nashua?
Yeah, so Hunter, Hearst, Helmsley, China, probably missing somebody. I mean, John Cena's from West Newbury, which is pretty local.
So anyways, you went to the school or the camp, whatever you call it?
Yeah, it was called Slam Tech Wrestling out of Nashua, and had the trainers were Brutal Bob Evans, Sonny Goodspeed, Maverick Wild, Alex Arion, all these big names in New England. And I wrestled there for about 3 months. And then what happened is that school ended up shutting down and moving south to Rhode Island. And I wasn't driving at that point. So it's just like, my dad's like, sorry, buddy, you're done.
Pick a sport.
Yeah, to do something else. And I was really disappointed. And then Al Arion actually called me out of the blue. And he goes, hey, listen, you still looking to wrestle? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I definitely want to wrestle. Steve Bradley, I don't know if you guys heard, Steve Bradley was like one of the up-and-coming developmental stars.
I read about him.
Yeah.
Trained you, right?
Yeah, he trained me, yeah. And he was absolutely unbelievable. He was actually going to be the next RVD, but in the WWE. Really? That was what his spot was. So Al called me, hey, my buddy Steve just got released. He's opening a school in Manchester. Why don't you come meet him and check it out? And then literally the rest is history. I walked into the school, and Steve was a jacked up guy.
Do you think you had a knack for it in the beginning, or were you horrible?
Terrible. Yeah. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah?
Terrible.
What was that like, walking into a completely new world, new culture, new sport?
I mean, it was different than anything I've ever done. I mean, I played the basketball, I played football, I played soccer.
Right.
And then you're stepping into pro wrestling, and what we see in here is super demanding, super physical, but it's so much more because now we're quote unquote acting. We're telling a story with our body, with our face, with our voice, and that blows people up more than anything.
Right. Well, who are some of your influences besides past trainers or so-called journeymen of the sport? Who influenced you to get in the ring?
So it started at 3-4 years old. My father called me in. Hey, look what's on TV, Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, everyone loved the Ultimate Warrior. Coming shaking the ropes, jacked out of his mind. Just annihilating every big guy with like 85 clotheslines. I mean, who didn't love it? And that's what captivated me. And really, like, I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be him. I want to go out there and just be a superhero.
Right. Would you say that the business, and when I say the business, I mean WWF, WWE, because that's kind of the top of the mountain, right? In a lot of ways. Would you say they were at their peak in late 80s, early 90s?
Yeah, I would say WWE peaked in the Hogan era, right? From like 84, 83, all the way up through 92, 93. And then they went a little decline, with a couple issues with WWE having the steroid scandal,
right?
Some bad press there,
Yeah. Have you spent any time around the WWE or?
So did some extra talent work. So I started doing some extra talent work in 2010 with them. And then sporadically, every time they came up to New England, I would get that call or that email. Hey, Brandon, we'd like you to have you to be an extra talent. I would do the Garden down in Boston.
What does that consist of? Is that like prelims or?
So yeah, so a lot of times for extra talent, they call you in and they really can have you there for anything. You could help out being security.
Gotcha.
You could help out. Sometimes you get like a tryout match before the show, which the owner of WFA, Scott Reed, and I actually had up at the Verizon building up in the Southern New Hampshire building up in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So we had a tryout match there. Anything they need, you're just extra talent. There's extra talent on hand. So sometimes they'll call you in and they're like, hey, we need you to be a plant in the crowd, and
either way,
going to hit you.
Somebody who's trying to get in the business, it's good networking. It's good business on your part. Have you dealt with Vince at all, or?
No, so we did my two interactions with Vince were him walking down the hallway, and everyone kind of steps aside, right?
Does he actually walk like that?
Yeah, he walks
does?
like that. He's a billionaire, and you can smell it on him, right?
Yeah, right.
And so, of course, everyone, even the guys that are there, right, all step aside. It's the boss walking down with his entourage of people, right?
Well, like Pat Patterson or...
So at the time, it was Michael Hayes. There was Jamie Noble was behind him and a couple other creative folks.
Yeah.
And he walks by and he stops and he's talking to somebody. Well, him and I make eye contact. So he initiates it. Oh. Hey, I'm Vince. Right. In my head, I'm like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah, right.
In my head, I'm like, hey, I'm Brandon. Nice to meet you. Right. That was my first interaction. I remember him walking away going, damn.
At least he didn't fire you on the spot, right?
Yeah, right, literally. Or say, what are you doing here, kid?
Yeah.
But my second interaction with Vince was we did one of the other times I got called up for Monday Night Raw, we did a promo on the ring with John Cena, Big Show, John Laurinaitis. And they wanted to go over that. They didn't really do it before the show, but they did it during the show. So we all got called into Vince's office. Yeah. Vince has his own personal office. So, you walk in and you see a whole bunch of flat screen TVs.
Is this office at every venue you work at, or just are you talking Connecticut?
No. It's his makeshift office at every venue.
Oh, so wherever they go, he's got his own suite.
He's got Vince's name tag right on the door of Vince's office. So we get called in, right, see all the TVs. Every TV has a different angle from the camera. And he has a headset in there, so he must be calling the shots on some things.
So he really micromanages.
Everything that happened while he was there was okayed by him.
Right.
Yeah.
As far as your character goes, and I don't know if it's changed over the years, how would you describe it's the real deal? Who are you?
Man, so that's exactly, that's a good question. I always feel as if, what is the real deal? Well, I can just consider myself, everything I do when I'm in there in real life, walking in the street, in the gym, talking to anybody, what you see is what you get. There's moments I'm an asshole, and there's moments I'm going to give you the shirt off my back. So I'm just real as it can be. Anything, if you see me, you know that I'm not being fake. And I'll call you out on bullshit, and I will, cry with you when you're as your best friend. But I'm the real deal.
Would you call yourself a veteran at this point in this business? 20 years, right?
Yeah,
Close to it.
Yeah, 20 years. If you're not a veteran by 20 years, then damn. But yeah, I guess I would consider myself a veteran. Funny story is coming back just after a 4-year layoff, working some of the new talent, and the new talent was about 8-9 years old when I was getting started. Yeah. Right.
Do you still feel like you can still give a lot more inside the ring? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Age is just a number. And I can go in there and I can work with anybody. I can work with a brand new guy right out of school, and I can go in there and work with someone that's been in the business 20 years like I have.
Did anybody over at WWE stick out to you that was nice to you? I mean, besides meeting Vince, was there any other talent that you thought went out of their way to help you, or to at least say hello, right?
Yeah, honestly, so many people. I mean, Kofi Kingston, he's from local. He's from around here.
The New Day?
Yeah, the New Day, yep. One huge, awesome person, William Regal. He actually held a lot of the tryout matches.
He's a big trainer, right?
Big trainer. So talented, so much knowledge. And he watched all the matches and would give us feedback after the match. Dustin Runnels, Goldust is what he's, Goldust was huge when he was there. Jamie Noble was awesome.
Well, his father was huge too, right?
Yeah, Dusty Rhodes.
Who's a legend.
The legend, Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, and now you have Little Rhodes, right? Cody Rhodes.
Cody is main eventing WrestleMania this year, or 2 years now.
That's right. Have you ever crossed paths with him? Or?
No, actually, I lie. I did meet him on once, working for an indie show down in Lowell, Mass. He was actually main eventing, and he was in the back, just like a show like this, hanging out in his suit, just being one of the boys.
So for being in the business as long as you've been in, have you ever seen any gimmicks through other wrestlers that were, I don't want to say crossing the line, but just a little out there, if any can come to mind? Because you said Goldust, and I'm like, oh, that's right. He had a gimmick at one time where he had pretty much like Tourette's. Yeah. And just like looking back at it, like how inappropriate that was.
How entertaining, but how bad.
Yeah. Can any other gimmicks come to mind, or give me some of your favorite gimmicks?
Oh, man. I mean, I love the Legion of Doom. Yeah. I can't think of anyone that comes to mind that I interacted with that would stand out like, holy crap. But, I mean, Legion of Doom were awesome. I mean, again, I love those jacked up guys, right, coming in there just crushing people. Obviously, the Warrior. I loved Mr. Perfect. I didn't really.
Is that Kurt Hennig?
Yeah, Kurt Hennig. Yeah. I didn't know anything about Ric Flair until I got in the business. And then my trainer, Steve, was very big. Hey, watch Ric Flair. Watch his selling. Watch his storytelling. Watch his what he's doing in the ring.
I've heard that from a lot of wrestlers I've watched. They all talk about Ric Flair as if he's like the gold standard in ring work and on mic work.
Yeah. I mean, he was just, he could go in there and wrestle with anybody, call it on the fly, 60 minutes, right? And make it entertaining, make it nonstop action. And he could take a big guy, a small guy, a wrestler his size, and just make it work. He could, like the saying goes, he could wrestle a broomstick and make it look good.
Right, the figure four, and he was really great at selling everything. Remember those Flair dives he would do, where he'd take a step and then face plant?
Oh yeah, he loved it. Yeah,
he was great. Are there any tag team? I had this written down. Your dream tag team match, whether it's 2-on-2 or a triple tag team match.
One that I'm in, one that I would be in, or
your dream out of anybody you can think of. Who would you want to share the ring with? I should say.
The Brainbusters, or Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. I would love to have wrestled against them in a tag match.
Yeah.
I would love to have Flair as my partner.
Right.
Right? And go against these two guys. I mean, again, not overly, bodybuilder guys, but can go in there and just work. And I love calling stuff in the ring. And that's a lost art nowadays. A lot of guys, unfortunately, don't get trained that way. So they'll call stuff out back and, and then incorporate it in the match. I would love to go in there and just fly by the seat of our pants and work.
When you say bodybuilding, would you say that there's a limit in your sport as in bodybuilding? Like you don't want to get too big? Because I remember seeing guys when I was a kid, like Scott Steiner, and it's like, that guy's too big. He's too slow.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's always a limit to everything. I think it's okay to have one Scott Steiner on the show, like one jacked up, because he's a freak, and you want a freak on the show, right? But if everyone starts looking like a freak, now you become numb to it.
Right.
And that's what started happening, right? Everyone started, getting on the stuff, and everyone started looking great, cool. But now you see the same. It's like having a toy, right? You don't want to buy the same toy every time. You want the different flavors.
Right.
You want.
So late '80s, Hulkamaniac. You got Ric Flair, or did he leave for WCW in the late '80s?
So Flair was a part of NWA, 70s, 80s. He left the NWA-ish or Mid-South around the early 90s, went to WWF at the time. And then wrestled there, left there in like 93 and went back to WCW.
So around this time, Hulkamania seems to be wearing off a little bit, and Vince ushers in the Attitude Era.
Yeah, the best era?
I would say so.
Right.
The Attitude Era. Anybody in our age group, whether in their 30s or late 20s, the Attitude Era was everything, and still is. You can still feel the influence of today's talent, I think.
Yeah.
Whether it's Stone Cold, The Rock, John Cena.
I mean,
have you had an encounter with John Cena?
So it's, funny stories. His brother Matt Cena was my bodybuilding trainer.
Right.
So direct friendship with John Cena, no. Interaction through family members or through just like being at a TV show, like being an extra. Yeah, small talk here and there, but nothing deep.
How did you feel about him when he first showed up with Thugonomics, right?
Yeah, so I remember him from a wrestling biography or whatever it was. He was the prototype. I remember seeing him as a kid going, wow, that guy is jacked, but I don't think he's going to be anything.
Was his father involved in the business too?
Yeah, so Johnny Fabulous. He's still around actually doing local shows. He's amazing. He's managed me a couple times in shows.
Oh, really?
He's such a nice guy. Yeah. So awesome, yeah.
Yeah, so you like Thugonomics. Did you like his how do you not like John? I mean, the Never Give Up and
Yeah, I mean, the thing is though, I was a little older when he became who he is today. So I wouldn't say like I was a huge fan of his character. I love that his passion for the business.
Right.
Because that translated in the ring. And again, technical wise, wasn't the greatest, right? Threw a punch that would probably break your jaw.
Right.
Because he had big hands, right? But not a Ric Flair. But man, his storytelling in the ring, his facials, his mic work.
Mic work was great.
Awesome. He could go out there and just talk forever and captivate a crowd.
He still gets a big pop.
That's amazing.
He's
been out for what, a couple of years now, and he comes back and the place goes nuts.
You think he'll show up at WrestleMania?
I do.
Yeah?
I think they would be stupid not to.
Is that a dream of yours, to make it on the bill for WrestleMania one day?
Hey, I would love to. And listen, I would even be an extra talent at WrestleMania. If they said, hey, Brandon, come fly to Philadelphia on your own dime. We'll pay you $500 to take some sort of stupid bump.
Right.
Sure. Absolutely. Sign me up. Where do I sign the waiver?
Is that still a dream for somebody like you, is to make it to that next level? Or
I think if you're an athlete, and any athlete, football, basketball, whether soccer, pro wrestling, you always have that inside you, and there's always that hope, right? And that's why I think we still, like, why I came back and why some guys my age still do it. It's because you have that hope of, hey, maybe one day,
right?
Never say never. Like, maybe that one day I'll get that call, or
maybe I'll run into somebody who might be able to give me some help.
Yeah, you never know, or just to meet the right person at the right time, and they say, wow, man, where were you this whole time? You'd be like, man, I've been wrestling for 20 years. Oh, I never knew who you were. And it's just timing. Everything's timing.
Do you see guys today in the business that you're just not impressed with, and they've somewhat made it to that level, but somebody like you're like, I'm not impressed? I'm not saying name names, but there must be guys out there that really just, I don't know, got over because somebody liked them or they knew somebody.
For sure. I mean, there's always, politics, right? And that's the quote unquote politics. But one thing I never want to take away from anybody is whether they had an easy way to get there, whether it's just like their look and someone said, hey, let's sign you because you look like $1 million.
Right.
Good for them. That's what sold to them. And everyone has that little thing. So, but there are, of course, guys that I know personally that I look at and go, not, and then I see what they do on TV or see what they do on the indies, and I'm like,
Is there anybody wrestling today that you like, that you're a fan of?
Oh man, so many of my friends are on TV. I mean, we got Todd, who's Ivar in WWE, Tommaso, who's part of what's his name there? I just lost his name there, but he's on WWE. He's a tag team. Kofi, Kofi, he just got signed right when I started to get in that area in Massachusetts, so he's great. Mike Bennett, Matt Taven, all these guys, are doing such big things, and I'm so proud of them. I mean, I used to do car rides down to Ring of Honor with Matt Taven and Mike Bennett on our own dime. We're just trying to get a look.
Right.
And actually it worked out for them. Mike Bennett got signed out of it. I think Matt Taven got signed out of it.
What is we're not a rookie contract, but what does it, like an opening contract typically look like? Do you have a couple fights on your deal, or?
So remember, just like it's not so much by fight. It's more, hey, we're signing you for a year, and pretty much they own you.
Yeah.
Everything about your name, all your likeness, all that stuff, they can do whatever they need to do with it. And if you prove yourself, right, you're in there. Say you go down to NXT, which is like, I don't hate saying
the
it's a minor league, but yeah.
But a lot of great talent comes out of NXT.
So much talent. They have so much talent. They have like 100+ guys signed, and guys and girls signed that are absolutely amazing.
Would you attribute a lot of their success at NXT because of Hunter?
Oh, for sure. I mean, Hunter, it was long overdue. They had FCW, that they had a couple smaller things, but Hunter had this vision of making it so much more, making it like a major brand. Excuse me. And he took that and hired a whole bunch of talent. And with his vision and all the hard work of all those guys, they built it to what it is today.
Yeah, I understand. Another guy who comes to mind, I don't know if you have any thoughts on him, but Logan Paul.
Oh,
I know
man.
He's in the business. And
he's tremendous.
You think so?
Oh, man, he's awesome. He's such a great entertainer. And honestly, I remember seeing him the first time. My son's 16, and he watches wrestling, and we saw him come out, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a stinker of a match. I mean, celebrities never do a good job, right? They never.
He's not your average celebrity, though. The kid's an athlete.
That's the thing, is he came out, and I didn't know that about him.
Yeah.
And I learned that. Well, I'm like, holy crap, this guy like stole the show.
I agree. I think he's very good. The only thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way is what he's promoting all the time and selling products in his sports drink. But is that the business these days?
That's the business, right? So like they just said, I think W just came out and said, Prime's going to be the first ring mat sponsors. They're going to have that Prime energy drink in the middle of the
That's logo. A big deal.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And that might be their deal, right? They might say, hey, Logan Paul, we want you to come in. You're a huge name. And then in return, he goes, I'll come in, but I want you to push my Prime energy drink. So it's a business deal.
Right, and I think UFC is also involved in that drink too, which brings me to my next question, because guys from professional wrestling have made the jump over to martial arts, ultimate fighting. Has it ever crossed your mind?
Absolutely.
Yeah? Something you've been interested in?
But honestly, I would love to do it. I've never trained in martial arts or MMA or any contact sport like that. But of course, man, again, as an athlete, you always have that edge. And I always tell my wife, sometimes I'm at the mall, man, I'm like, I just want some guy to say something. I just want to break his face. Like, I want to get in that fight.
You want the confrontation.
Yeah, and I'm sure, though, the first time I get punched in the mouth in a real fight, I'd be like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because sometimes, a lot of guys say, oh, I block out and I go crazy. Who knows? That could be me, too.
Yeah,
But you,
which
I think,
isn't always
you're
good.
telling me you don't have that little edge that you'd be like, listen, I would love to just knock someone's
Right,
socks off.
but a lot of guys know how to fight these days, though.
Yeah, you don't never know. And the guys that don't look like they can fight
Yeah.
are the ones you need to worry about.
Those are the ones who go train.
Yeah, I always tell, my sons are getting older. My other son's going to be 21 in May. And I always tell them, hey, listen, you're going to go to a bar.
Oh, my God.
And you're going to see the loudmouth. You're going to see it. I'm like, I can't really show it to you, but you're going to see the loudmouth guy running his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to fight what looks like a little small dude. And that little small dude's going to wreck him in one shot. And that's going to be the guy. The silent guy and the small guy are the ones you probably need to worry most about, because they're the ones that are confident in what they can do.
Right.
They don't need to be loud and talk a whole bunch.
But when you say you want to hit somebody in the mouth, or you want to be hit in the mouth, I'm sure that happens in the ring, right?
Sure, yeah.
No matter how trained and good you are, it happens. You got guys out there, like you said, Cena doesn't really throw a good punch.
Yeah.
Have you been clipped good in the ring?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to happen. I always tell people, like, what we do in there is we're telling stories with our body, right? And you want the fans, when they're here for those 3 hours, to believe what you're doing. They want to believe in you, and they want to cheer for the good guy and boo the bad guy. And when they're sitting us, like, right here, right on top of us, I can't throw a punch that stops here.
Right.
I need to get as close as I can to hitting you. And sometimes that means hitting you. There's as you go through training, again, blah, 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 there's a lot of safe ways to do stuff.
Who throws the perfect punch in your eyes?
Oh, man, the perfect punch. Again, this is cliche, but Flair throws a mean punch. Actually, let me back up. Jerry Lawler. I'm going to say Jerry Lawler throws the best punch. I
feel like he lifts his elbow up. Yeah.
Oh, he does. He does so. Go back and watch his. Go YouTube it, right?
Yeah.
Cut a clip in on this, right?
Yeah, right.
Watch one of his punch. Oh, just right on the money, and they're probably light as a feather.
Jerry was great.
Awesome.
Jim Ross was great. That was a big part of my childhood. I still do the JR voice till this day. You know?
Yeah.
By God.
Yeah.
You know? But
he's broken him in half.
Yeah, right. What are your thoughts on Paul Heyman?
Again, growing up, I didn't really know much about ECW.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that until I got into the business. Paul Heyman, though, now, and seeing him and watching that business, ECW, tremendous talker, captivating, passionate.
A creative, too,
Creative,
right?
passionate. It just, again, oozes out of him. He loves this business. Like, you could see it.
He's still involved heavily. He's going to be at WrestleMania. I don't know. What do they call him? The wise man?
Yeah, the wise man. I mean, he is. He just has so much information and so much knowledge, and he just has such a unique brain for the business.
He plays the role well, whether it's Brock's manager or now he's with the Usos,
and
right?
you know the thing is, that's really him.
Right.
That's him, and that's why he's so good at it.
Yeah.
Of course, the volume's turned up. He's not being that total arrogant,
Yeah.
but that's him. He's just so good.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite finishers, I would say?
Stone Cold Stunner.
Is that everybody's across the board?
I mean, it was so devastating.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was.
kick and then drop the guy, and,
Yep.
and if the guy took it, and again, who sold it the best, right?
The Rock.
Yeah. So the people say the Rocks. I like the way you sell. Man, sometimes it was so overdone.
I know.
You're like, you just kind of shit on it.
Yeah.
But some guys like, do you remember when he stunned Sergeant Slaughter? And Slaughter ate it, really ate it. And I was like, that was amazing.
I know. In the early 90s or mid 90s, when Stone Cold was really just getting put on, you can see the footage that people didn't quite know how to sell it, so it looked real.
Oh, because he shoot it. Just, hey, listen, I'm gonna kick, you're gonna hook and go down, hit your knees. But a lot of guys did it, and they were flat.
Yeah.
And they would eat it on their chin or their neck. But that made it look. I mean, Vince, the worst one, Vince.
Oh my
Vince
God.
took it absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, he just took it at WrestleMania. I want to say 38.
Yeah.
He got kicked. He fell back. I mean, guys, I have to give him credit. 70-something years old.
Yeah.
Still out there, but Vince never took a good stunner.
I remember every couch my family owned when we were kids was all ripped because we were doing swanton bombs off the arms of the chairs, and same with the pool.
You know something I used to do? I used to clip everybody. Do you remember back in the day when you guys gonna work a leg, right? And someone would always get clipped from behind.
Yep.
And the guy sold it, and the announcers oversold it. Like, it was like, oh my God, his knee just blew up.
Right.
So I, thinking, I'm like, yeah, I just went out clipping people.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, I guess if you really hit somebody, you could really, but I used to do it to my mom. She used to get so mad at me. I'd go clip, and I'd fall down and try to hit her.
I have an older brother that would hide in the house. He would play the corners just right, and when you would come out, he would big boot you, like to test the big boot.
That's awesome. Did he call it? Did he yell it?
Yep, and he would
Big
slap
boot?
his leg.
He did slap.
That's how you
Nice.
sell it.
Good.
Rest in peace, Test. What is your finisher? Is it the Alabama
It's the
Slam?
Alabama Slam, man. I stole it from Bob Holly, and it was actually, what's funny? The funny story about that is, I was again brand new, working 2002, 2003, 2004, And everyone's like, what's the finishing move? I said, whatever wins the match.
Right.
They're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't really have a thing. You know, everyone has their signature move. I didn't want that. I wanted to be the guy that just won any bite, whether it's hook the tights, schoolboy, or move.
Bob Holly was vicious. Would you call him a bully, you think?
I didn't know him.
Yeah.
Obviously, the stories, and I'm sure there's a reason for everything.
Yeah.
So when he beat people up, there's probably a backstory that we don't know about.
Right.
And to say that I never beat people up, I would be lying to you. Because in the ring, sometimes people take liberties, and sometimes if you don't want to be punked, you got to punk them back. And sometimes that means stiffing them or chopping them really hard, and or laying a forearm in there up on their jaw, you know, knock them a little goofy. But no, Bob Holly, him and I probably get along really well in the ring.
Yeah, you're paying tribute with the Alabama Slam.
Yeah, and it's again, that was just a move one day. Literally, I did it, and the crowd reacted because it's such a devastating move. And the people, you know, we always call it a sold-out monitor in the back, and the boys came back, oh, that was great. You should do that for your finish. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then, again, I just called it the Alabama Slam. One of the promoters is like, no, call it the lockdown.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah,
that's
call
great.
it the lockdown.
Yeah.
You know, my last name's Locke, so hey, lockdown, all right.
Right. Other people take other people's finishes. Kevin Owens took the stunner, right?
He stole the stunner, and you know, I'm sure there's other things out there. Someone probably does the rock bottom or a version of it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people do. Wrestling is all about reinvention. It's taking something that's been so good and putting your own spin on it.
Yeah.
You know, so I hate saying it's stealing. It's like Shawn Michaels copied Flair.
Paying homage. And now that you say Shawn Michaels, that would probably be my choice, the Sweet Chin Music.
Yeah, I mean, that was awesome too.
I don't have the leg flexibility or strength to do that.
I try to throw a super kick every once in a while.
Yeah.
It gets up there, but not as pretty as his.
Well, tell me this. What is there to be expected at tonight's match?
Just an ass whooping.
An ass whooping?
Yeah, it's an ass whooping. Yeah, I'm going to go out there and just do what I do best, and I'm going to try to make sure that when someone leaves here, that they're entertained. And if I come out and they're like, hey, listen, I love to hate Brandon, good. If they love to love me, cool. Love it. If they come back, even better.
Is there anything else you want to promote? Anything you have coming up?
Man, I'm just wrestling here in, Wrestling Federation of America, WFA. Anything, guys looking to train. Elite Pro Wrestling Academy out of Concord, run by two awesome guys, good friends of mine, Scott Reed, Mike Hollow. WFAWrestling.com, or I think it's EliteProWrestling.com. They can check that out. Follow me on Instagram, right? The old social media plug, Real Deal Locke.
Awesome. I love it. Hotel D'Amico on Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, Apple.